All right, welcome people to our sports, business, and life podcast. We have updated our title to our podcast. We got some feedback on it, and yeah, so we decided to go SBL podcast. That's short for sports, business, and life. And here's your host and co-host, or both of us are co-hosts. Michael. On the other side is Diego, and we're gonna start off with the Denver Raptors game. We had Fred Vanvleet kind of chime off. What do you want to say about that?
Fred got at the end of the Clipper game, which was a few days later, he came out and just went off on a couple of refs,
Yeah,
and I didn't necessarily see it as much in the Clipper game as I did in the Denver Nuggets game. Obviously, there was a play where Scotty and Jokic got kind of locked up, and 90% of the time that's a no call. That's a flop on Jokic. That's minimal contact. That's kind of both of them are tangled up together. You could call a double foul almost because Jokic and Barnes are essentially impeding the progress for both guys. A lot of times that's a no call. They called a foul. Obviously, at that point, I think it was a 1 point game. And I think the problem was at that point when Nurse challenged the play, I was saying to myself, man, that's a bad challenge because there's no way that the refs in the NBA are going to overturn a call on a two-time MVP, borderline three-time MVP. And lo and behold, it wasn't successful. So they lost the timeout. They lost the challenge. The next play, so now Denver's up one. The absolute next play, Scotty Barnes and Pirtle pick and roll. Jokic is defending Scotty on the drive. Scotty goes up, and essentially it is a foul. Now, is it a soft call foul? I agree. It is. It wasn't. It wasn't a tackle. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was a foul. He got him in the hand and the wrist, and then again going down, got him on the off arm. They challenged the play. It was successful for Denver. Okay, that's two plays. They were technically both toss-ups. They could have went either way. Both could have been no calls. Both of them could have went for the Raptors. Both could have went for Denver. Fair enough, right? Well, I could take that. I was watching. I'm like, wow, okay, down one. The other Denver has the ball. Let's see what happens. And another soft foul call. Pearl and Aaron Gordon are below the basket, and they're essentially banging each other. The offensive defender and defensive defender are hitting each other, and they call a foul on Pirtle. So everybody was shocked. Scott Foster makes a call on the opposite end of the floor, opposite baseline, and he's going to make the call. Scotty puts his hands up in the air, says something. I'm sure to the lines of, I don't want to speak for him, but you should have heard me on the other side watching it on TV, so I was pretty upset too. And not a conversation, not anything, just an instant turnaround and straight ejection. An ejection to the point where the other referees are shocked and not sure who he just ejected. This is Scott Foster talking. Scott Foster that did the ejection. And essentially, they just ruined the game. So I'm a Raptor fan. It was an entertaining game. It was really close, the whole game. Denver was coming back. They could have easily came back and won without the refs having any control in the outcome. But, man, they ruined the ending of that game. They essentially took any opportunity the Raptors would have had to score, take the lead, anything, because you're down one, you get fouled, you're going to the line for 2 free throws, and it's a straight ejection, which is one technical foul. Obviously, they all hit it because it was all good players that shot. Down 4 with, less than 20, 30 seconds left. Game's done, right?
yeah.
So, I showed Mike. We kind of had a quick chat about it. And, I just want to kind of get Mike's perspective on it because obviously you know how I feel. I think the refs a lot of times in the NBA. They try to control. They try to be the bigger. They try to be the attraction of the game. They try to take the control of the game when they're not part of the game. They are supposed to referee the game. If they see something, they call. They're supposed to be subjective, and they're not. NBA has never been that way. Never.
Well,
when in Jordan's era, in Shaq and Kobe's era, LeBron's era, hell, you could see this year.
I don't know about that.
LeBron James, Draymond Green, Luka Doncic berate the referees and no technical foul. And Scotty Barnes says something that wasn't yelled, no F-bombs, no nothing, and he gets instantly ejected.
Well, I don't know about you if I agree with you in terms of like the NBA has never been this way, but you know.
No, always been this way. Always been this way.
What? Say it again?
They've always been trying to control, impeding the star. They've always been this way.
Okay.
The Raptors have never had really a good call consistently on them. Like there was a lot of times where you would watch Raptor games and the call would always be against them. In a lot of times. Now again, I could be biased because I'm a Raptor fan, but man, there's a lot of bad calls in Raptor games.
I think it's because we're Canadian.
For sure. I know everyone jokes, it's not because of that. Nobody cares. But I've seen when Lowry was the best player and DeMar were the best players, when Bosch was the best player. The amount of leeway that other stars get is nowhere compared to when you come to Toronto and you're a star player. Like DeMar, when he was a guy who couldn't shoot a lick, he had a slight mid-range at the time. He was a driving, slashing guard, would constantly go to the basket, get hit, get fouled, no call. For the longest time, he wasn't leading. Like, he should have been up there in the league in free throws because how much he drove to the basket, especially back then.
Right.
And it took the NBA refs to start giving him the respect before they started calling a lot of those fouls. And I'm just trying to say, whether you're a rookie or you're a superstar player, a foul is a foul. If you have a zero tolerance on you're not going to talk back to a ref, you're not going to complain about a call, that's fair. But if Luka does it and LeBron does it, and every star player, almost every player now in the league talks back to the ref. If you're going to make a zero tolerance, make it a zero tolerance. You don't talk back to the ref.
You know what kind of sucks too about this is just like, we're coming down to like, let me see, Raptors are what, 32 and 36 now, right?
Yep.
So that's
Since that game, they haven't been the same, man.
So like let me see, when was that game? I'm just gonna check real quickly here. So that was 2 games or 3 games ago.
Yep.
So we're coming down to like the last 18 games, like under 20 games left in the season, and you're playing so well against the best team, and what I'm saying, just like,
and they played good. They had some good tactics on Denver.
In the span of like 40, 50 seconds, the game is taken out of your hand, and looking from that perspective, like trying to make the play-in tournament or get even higher in the play-in tournament.
The goal was with the Pirtle trade was to get out of the play-in. That's not happening now.
So that does like leave a bitter taste in people, and like that's why Fred it was Ben Taylor. He let him have it.
I agree with him because he went off after the Clipper game, and the Raptors are not a good team this year. I understand that they've had a super down year compared to last year. Last year seems more like a fluke than it was actually like the base of how the team was supposed to play.
Right.
But it's like Fred said it in his speech afterward. He was like, "It's always the same ref. All my technical fouls are from this one ref." Like, that's not normal. That's not normal. Fred is a veteran guy now where he could have quote unquote conversations with the ref, and he gets teed up so quick. Like, I didn't see anything there.
Yeah, no.
The Barnes thing, I didn't see anything there.
You know what happens too is just like, because like like watching some other channels. Remember Joey Crawford and Tim Duncan?
Oh,
Like
guy was
ridiculous.
laughing on the bench. And you tee him up. That's
Yeah.
stupid.
Like, and even, but if, like, what I don't know, what did he do? I don't think he did anything. He just
He was laughing. He was laughing.
yeah, but even
And just
before that,
covered
'cause
his fist.
even on the court, like when he picked up his fouls, it was just like
Yeah.
ticky tacky, nothing fouls. But again, but how do you feel? Remember the situation with LeBron and Durant in 2018? I think it was game one, and Durant was going to the hole, and LeBron stepped in for a charge, but they overturned it. Well, they called charge, but they overturned it and said it was a block, right? Oh, sorry, am I saying that right? Yeah. They called charge and said it was a block. Because like if you notice afterwards, before that time, LeBron was getting a lot of calls. I remember he would like flop and wink, like you remember those times, right?
Yeah.
Right?
In Miami, the guy was 6'8", 6'9", 265.
And the best player in the
He's
world,
just
the best
flopping
player in the
like a
world,
crazy guy. That
right?
used to drive me nuts, man. Like what makes me laugh about LeBron, this is one of the things I don't like about LeBron, okay? He flops. But not on top of that. He'll I remember, man, he used to torch the Raptors in the playoffs all the time. Do you know how many times Lowry would touch LeBron and LeBron would almost die on the court? Almost die. He was almost dead. And then the next play, he ends up, I'm not gonna flop, I'm gonna go in for the tough layup. And then
Oh
how
my
strong I am.
gosh, yo,
You
man.
just flopped 2 minutes ago off a guy who's barely 6 feet tall. You're 6'8", 265. You should never be flopping. Imagine Shaq flopping.
Yo, they used
You
to
remember, I think there was a play back in the day, Shaq and Earl Boykins. You remember Earl Boykins? Under 6 feet. I think it was like 5'8", my height. And
did Shaq take a
Shaq
charge?
tried to take a charge on Earl Boykins. Oh my God. It's stupid. It drives me nuts when you watch and you're like, man, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. They're like, you notice now a lot of the stars, every time there's contact, and I don't mean like foul contact. They're driving and they get brushed up chest to chest with another player. What's the first thing they do? They instantly start cocking their head back like they're getting fouled.
Yeah.
And the refs bite at it and they call the foul. Trae Young. Do you know how many points Trae Young gets from the free throw line just from flopping?
But now, what do you think that is? You think that contributes to protection?
I think they realized James Harden was doing it and averaging tops in free throws attempts, and every player followed that.
But do you also think maybe the NBA is, because remember LeBron said this, that the NBA is trying to protect the shooter more than the person that drives?
I agree. So like those plays where you go up for a jump shot and then the defender goes under you, I agree. Those ones can be dirty. I remember, who was his name? Bruce Bowen with the Spurs. He was notorious for that.
Oh yeah,
that was his defense. That was his defense a lot of times. He would go under people.
Yeah.
I get that. You want to take that out of the game because that'll cause injury. But a brush foul should not be called a foul because you're trying to protect the players.
Right.
It should not. That's not protecting the player.
Right.
That's not protecting the player. I get they want to push more offense, but again, it has to be level. If that is going to be called a foul, when Fred Vanvleet is driving and he does that, they better call that a foul. Because I've watched, especially this season, again, I'm not blaming the refs for the season the Raptors had. The Raptors did it to themselves. Okay? They have not played well this year. But a lot of games, the fouls are always not on the Raptors' side. And the Raptors don't shoot threes well. So they have to drive to the basket. And they don't get a lot of foul calls. Where like Siakam would force a shot up, where it looked like they could easily call it a foul if LeBron was driving that play. Like, keep it the same. If this is a foul, then this is a foul. Don't change it. Keep it consistent. That's the worst, is not having consistency. If that's a soft foul, then you're calling the soft foul on the other end. If you're going to try to challenge it, you just challenged the soft foul there and didn't overturn it. Why are you overturning this one here?
Yeah, I got you. You know, it's definitely an ongoing issue. It seems to be like it may be ongoing for a while. I mean, like what it seems like to me is that like when that happens in the league, it seems like that's where the power's going. If you understand what I'm saying, like again,
Yeah.
I'm going back to Durant and LeBron because there was a few games in the season, or I think it was one game in the season where like Steph was out and remember LeBron had a drive to the rim and Durant like he swiped across them, right? It was a foul, but it's like superstar against superstar, the refs are gonna allow that. So, like, example with Jokic, they'll always allow that. Like, I guess it's like in their minds, they understand that like the best players are not going to put themselves in positions to commit that foul
That's
because
not true.
no, well, like I'm just trying to look at it from the
I
refs
get it. I get it. Yeah,
because
it's fair
they're
what
not,
the
they're not gonna
refs.
suck. They're not going to get themselves in foul trouble because they know that they're the offense to the team, right? But it looks like a power. It looks like a power shift because I was surprised when like Durant was getting a lot more favorable
Well,
calls right
for
than
sure.
LeBron against LeBron too. So that's
Yeah.
even
You know what I also noticed? Do you remember? Did you watch the 2016 finals when the Cavs came back to
yeah.
to
Warriors.
beat Golden State? Okay, I watched every game.
Me too. Yeah.
Okay, the Warriors were looking good, man. They were looking real good, and a couple of plays after what game five, I think when Draymond got suspended, he's been doing that all playoffs. He's been kicking people in the nuts all playoff. You could go back and check the highlights, Mike. Okay? Why is there no foul calls there or suspensions there? But in the finals, you're going to call it. You didn't call it all year. Why are you calling it now?
That's a good point.
Fair. Hey,
Good point.
that's a foul, should be a foul, should be a suspension. That was actually one of the least looking foul calls. Like, out of all the ones, the worst one was against Steven Adams. Poor guy. Like, poor guy. Kicks him hard, too. You never see Steven Adams
Hey,
look injured, go
not
down
just
on his
once,
feet.
not just once, multiple times he got Steven Adams.
Nothing, no suspension. But LeBron tries to step over Draymond, and Draymond gets upset. You call that a suspension? I don't know, man. That's a little shady. But then if you look after, how many times was Curry in foul trouble? Game 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, he was in a lot of foul
He
trouble.
was in constant. And then because why do you think? I can't remember. I think either David Stern was still no. I'm pretty sure it was Adam
So
Silver.
Adam Silver, yeah, yeah.
I'm sure. Man, it would be great if this went 7 games to make more money. 100%. 100%. You see that a lot. You see it go from one side to the other just because they try to extend the series as much as possible.
Yeah, there'll definitely some talks about that.
For
And
sure.
yeah, 'cause even in the next year, like a lot of people are saying, yeah, I mean the refs might have helped them in Game 4, but I mean when they're shooting like that, you can't help them forever. So and then they won in Game 5. That was the next year. But anyways, yeah. So that's it about
Well, granted, it was a completely different team. They had Kevin Durant on.
Durant.
Like, I mean, the refs could do a much when you have 4 superstars on one side. Or
Western,
sorry, 4 Hall of Famers, we'll call them, because they're all going to make the Hall of Fame.
the Western
Not
Conference
sure
All
Draymond was a
Stars.
superstar, but
Yeah, the Western Conference
maybe.
All Stars, man.
Starting 4.
Yeah.
God, it's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, but moving on.
Man, like, yeah, that's the thing. I'm sick of it constantly being the refs are always trying to be the bosses in the game. You're like, dude, you're not like it's not like the military. You're just trying to follow the rules. You don't care if Denver wins, you don't care if Raptors win. Keep it level. If you're gonna go one way or go the other way, it's just not fair, man. It's just not fair.
Right.
You ruin a game like that. Not even like the Raptors would have lost too. Who I guarantee you they probably would have lost. But the end of the game was ruined because of it. Ruined.
Right. I hear you on that. Yeah, man. So, moving on. Um, I
Let that
guess,
out my chest.
yeah, man, no problem. I guess we want to get into potential like startup business that we plan to do, or
Yeah.
right. So, Diego, you're in real estate. Or no, elaborate on it
Part of real
more.
estate.
Elaborate
Yeah,
on it more. Elaborate on it more.
yeah. I'm a mortgage agent. I got my license last year. Been training. I've been working with a guy who has a bunch of experience. So we're just kind of, trying to get out there as much as possible, talk to as many people as possible. I know when people hear mortgages, they kind of get scared and they think, oh my God, it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. Hey, my dad was super scared of the word mortgage, of the word debt, of even being slightly in debt, and he never utilized essentially what mortgages can do to people's investment purposes, and they got to use mortgages as a positive thing and not as much as a negative thing. Like, I've invested in properties where I've utilized a mortgage to buy a property that obviously I couldn't buy in cash because this isn't the 60s and 50s. Things are expensive now,
Right.
right? And that it's a big thing if you're able to get a mortgage on a property that works for you, and financially it makes sense for you. You should definitely do it. um, get an expert, get an expert real estate agent, get a mortgage agent like myself. Make sure you have people around you that kind of know specifics on the industry. Like, when I was investing, I had people around me that had specific things that I wanted. Like, cash flow for me was super important when I was looking for my first property. And, I saw a lot of beautiful houses. Me and my wife found a few that were like, oh man, I could see ourselves living there. But that wasn't the reason why we were purchasing the property. We were purchasing it for a rental property. And if
Right.
financially the cash flow, the rent, paying all the expenses off, and then leaving money left over for our family each month was big for us. And, we just kind of kept the focus on it, right? It's not necessarily just about the look of the property; it's how the property works for you.
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm trying to go full gear on being a mortgage agent. I would like someday to open up my own brokerage. It's going to be in a few years, but yeah, I'm ready to put in the work for that.
Nice.
And then now we got to talk about your business.
Yes, yes. So, so I mean, right now, we just talked about the Raptors and the Nuggets game, and we really enjoy basketball. So, I get what I plan to do, more or less, is to really start to train children. Um, like, yes, basics and fundamentals, but like I guess for the ones that want to I guess take their game to the next level, right? Ages 8 and up. It's not funny. I actually had a coaching certificate since from 2013. That was when I was with coaching for the Mississauga Monarchs, and it's still there. I didn't even realize it was there. So I'm
You need a certificate to coach?
huh?
You
Like,
need a certificate to coach? I didn't know that.
we don't need one, but like I mean, if you're like doing like a program, like you don't need one. Um,
I think I did a coaching. Man, it probably was grade 12.
yeah,
Coached kindergarten, no, sorry, grade 1 to grade 3 team, close to my old high school.
right.
It was fun, man.
But it's always good to have because like people recognize certificates, and it does, especially coming because I don't know if you heard of the NC, is it NCAAP? It's like the Ontario National Basketball Association, like OBA, something like that.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So like I went through them. A gentleman there, I think he coached children, but I believe he also coached like the higher levels up, like university teams, college teams as well. So, um, but it's very interesting when because for the age group we were coaching, which was I think it was 8 to 12 at the time, like um, it's like the way how to get children or to get the age group to kind of do what you want them to do, you have to speak their language, right? And of course, like someone that's in grade 7, right? You don't need to speak grade 3 language to them, right? Right? Like you just go based
Even
on
like
their
basketball
level,
teams too, right?
huh?
Like, a lot of people don't understand. Go to the paint, go to the block.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
what he used, like he used like shapes, or like like set up in banana, right? So they make a banana, right? Or do the set up in a square on the left side, so they set up in a square. So it's like they understand that language, and
Yeah,
so you know,
that's pretty sick.
Yeah, man. So it's pretty cool. So it's helped me understand. Hmm?
I did have a question when you're done. I did have a question. Don't make me forget.
No, no worries. It's
Continue.
like it really did help me in terms of like when I was coaching my younger brother. So yeah, but go on. What's your question?
You said you coached your brother. When you were so like my son is 9. He's wanting to get better in basketball. He's going to a few practices and that. The one thing I've noticed that he needs to work on, which for me it's difficult, and for us it's a little difficult. How do you get him to read the floor? Like what drills or film or whatnot where a guy's at the top of the 3 point line and he needs an outlet pass. He needs someone to pass the ball to. And my son's in the corner 3 point line and he doesn't think, hey, let me come up the 3 point line to give an outlet to my point guard, to my shooting guard, to whoever has the ball, to give them a passing option. How do you is there a drill or is there something we could do to teach him that? Because I know for him, a lot of times it's the visuals. Like I was with him last week and they were doing this slight one-on-one drill. It wasn't really one-on-one. It was more like you're wanting to close out and then play defense, right? That was the whole gist. But the offensive player was trying to score. And my son would have a kid on him and he crossed him 3 times. But the first time he didn't do anything after the cross. The second time he didn't do anything after the cross. The third time he did something and he scored, right? So I was trying to get him to say, okay, you did it the first time, but you didn't utilize what you did. You didn't know what to do after the fact, right? Like the problem is because he did a crossover. So he went from his right hand to his left hand. And because he's scared to dribble with his left, he stopped and then just kind of went the opposite way to put the ball back in his right hand.
Right.
So the knowledge of oh, I just did something. What do I do now is what he needs to learn. So offensively, knowing to go where does he need to be when he doesn't have the ball? Where does he need to be if someone needs to pass him the ball? And then obviously offensively when he has the ball, what to do with it, right? We're joking all the time, we play NBA 2K, and he takes some bad shots, man. He takes some bad shots with Steph Curry. Now we have it on rookie mode, so he hits a lot of times. But I'll turn to him and be like, that was a bad shot. Got to pass the open guy. So I think a lot of times he has that tunnel vision. And I remember being younger, having the ball. It was a little bit stressful, trying to figure out what to do with it. So you kind of get more relaxed. It kind of comes more natural to you. How do you get to where he reads the play? At what age or what drill does that kind of work? Because they did a drill, I believe Friday. They were doing some type of drill, and he was trying to. It took him a few extra seconds to get where he needed to go, right? With a few assistants and things like that. So what would be something you would be able to add to that?
That's a good question. What kind of drill to use? I know the the 3-man weave, right?
Oh, actually, yeah, that would actually be a good thing because you got to follow it. You got to be available for the pass and then also get to the new position. Right. That's a good one.
Yeah, the 3-man weave is supposed to teach them that. I'm not saying it doesn't, right? I'm not saying it doesn't, right? Yeah. But when you ask me about how do they read,
you and I both know when we don't have the ball, it just automatically comes, oh, I got to get there. Oh, I got to get there. It's hard for me to, I don't think it now. It just happens when I used to play. Right? How do we get him where he's thinking less and just reacting more,
Yeah. And I was going to say, because with my younger brother, how I think we had, kind of similar paths, right? When you're watching game tape, it's that's how you teach them to read. When I watched games with my younger brother, I taught him how to read, and then.
So what type of game tape do you watch him?
When we record his games, we watch game tape, and then. Oh yeah, you could even go. I guess if you want to watch college games or I guess NBA games, I wouldn't go that far. I think it's a little too much.
I don't think I'm able to record his games because he's on the time. He's on. So they have one main court, and then there's the 2 nets on one side, 2 nets on this side. So they play half court.
Right. Oh,
So like
gotcha.
I feel weird kind of pulling up my phone and filming. You know
No,
what
it's
I
all
mean?
good.
But like, there's one kid that he plays with, and he's I think 2 years older than Christian. He's a slightly taller, but he's fast, and he knows like he knows how to read the basketball. So
Yeah.
like defensively, he'll get like 4 or 5 steals a game just off of you have the ball and I gotta pass there, and then that's that extra second of like throwing it. Then it's steal, layup, steal, layup, steal, layup.
Right.
And like I saw him, like Christian's not there yet to know where to read that
Right.
part, right? Because like they had a drill. I'm trying to. Can I share my screen and do it like on a? Let me see here.
Yeah, try your best. Well, also like that guy or he's 2 years older, so he may be further down the road.
Yeah, he's
Um,
definitely further down the road.
right. So repetition, of course, more game. But the thing is, though, like, because some people play a lot of games, but they still don't have the reading, right, or the vision, right, like, as you say. So to me, it comes best when you show them like through game tape.
Yeah.
I believe that's the best way to show it. So then they go into the next game or the next scrimmage with a mental image in their head. That's
Really?
how that's how I think it's best to help them read better.
Okay. So what their drill was they had a pylon here, pylon here, pylon here, pylon here, pylon here. So essentially they're playing 5 out,
Yeah.
right? And what the part is, they start up top, and there's 4 players. So one spot is open always, right? So the guy up top passes it to one of the elbows,
Yeah.
and then they instantly cut. So there's a guy, like the coaches were defending the middle just to kind of make it a little bit more people in the way. But their whole thing was they're trying to cut in front of their defender to kind of seal the defender off, which is smart. It's good to teach the kids that. Really, really good. But then after they cut and they don't get the ball, they don't know where to go. So like a lot of times they'll run to the part here, but then they'll stay. So then the ball will be here. They'll cut. They'll come this way. And then this guy here is supposed to come up top. Once he's from here, he needs to move and fill in the spot.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't know where, and they don't know why they need to fill in up here. Can you kind of break that down if I'm explaining it correctly? Are you able to kind of explain that part?
It's kind of hard without any imagery, but but I think but for the most part, I think I understand is that like when they do make a move or when they do go to the next spot, they kind of just stay, and they don't think about the next possession or think about the next best possible spot for them to score or to do some type of move, right? Being a triple threat or whatever the case may be.
And that was a lot of things. None of the kids were in triple threat. They were holding the ball like this, trying to figure out where to pass the ball to.
Mm-hmm.
So like they weren't in triple threat. They weren't thinking this is basketball. They were just trying to do the drill on how they were describing it. So like it failed miserably. Like I think some of the older kids, they finally got it when the coaches were joining in with them. But the younger kids, completely over their head. Mm-hmm. Like I was trying to get him to say, okay, when you have the ball, what options you have, right? Oh, I could shoot, I could dribble, I could pass. Those are my options. I said, that's good. So if you're up top and there's nobody on your left side, or nobody on your right side, and only you have the left side available, what are your options? Oh, I could shoot, I could dribble, or I could pass to the left side. He says, yes. So if you don't have balance on the court, you're losing options, which means the defender can kind of guess more on what you're going to do, right? So you want to keep as many options open so your defender's kind of guessing more, right? Like if you're a good shooter, the defender's going to know that, and they're going to try to play you on your shot. They're going to try to take away an option for you. But if you're a good shooter, but then you're not in triple threat, your hands aren't ready, you're not ready to receive the ball, you're not in the proper spot, you're essentially taking away that option for yourself, right? So I was trying to explain that part to him just to kind of get his reading and thinking a little bit more. But yeah, definitely that's the longest part for him because like he's improving on his jump shot. He's dribbling fairly well. Defensively, he's improving, but it's just kind of like the reads back and forth, back and forth.
And it's kind of hard for those like coaches to like, you know, teach all the children from different levels. Like I've been there before
Yeah,
because like, you know, you got this child that's 8, this one that's 10. Yeah, he knows, but then you can't really spend time with that child because you got to spend time with this child or these
yeah,
children over here that don't know what's going on. Like what I did for when I was in Mississauga, Monaco, I did for my students one time because you know what happened? This is what happened because when I was there, um, one of the coaches referred me to get my coaching certificate. I wasn't really too serious at the time because I was more like, there's so much stuff going on. But
you're doing this for fun, just for fun.
yeah, she referred because I did exactly, and I said, you know what, I want to do something in basketball. I haven't really done anything in basketball for a while, but like, I would take the children to, I would take like a chair. We'd do drills on the chair. You know what I'm saying? And then everyone would take their turns. I would even show them like come off a pick or whatever. But again, like, you know, I don't want to I don't want to bombard them with so many things, right?
What about that too with my son?
Like I try to say like whatever they need at the time. Like for Christian, like what he needs is more cardio. He needs more cardio in his. So I would focus on that for the longest while if I was like training him. Or I should say, when I train him, because I will be training Christian, eventually.
First customer.
Huh?
So when you mean cardio, you mean like him just having his cardio up, or like dribbling with the basketball?
No, I'm talking about we're gonna be running. Like we're gonna be running.
Okay, that's gonna be fun for
Gonna be a lot of
him.
running.
You
Yeah, he
know,
might not like me, and it's I get it, but believe me when I say this, because it's important to have cardio in basketball. Um, I mean,
trust me, I didn't have cardio. It
I
was
think
very
you
hard.
know, I
It
think
was
you
very
know,
hard.
but like because like again, you're working your way up because you're asking like about him with the outlet with the court vision, right? Well, I mean, if you have cardio and you're able to outlast the children a lot longer, you're gonna be able to see these things. Like you're gonna be ahead of everybody. You're gonna be a step
Yeah,
of everybody. Because eventually, what happens as you go up, people become the same level, right? Like more or less, whatever. We know some are better than others, but like you'll by then you'll know how to read something to like. So even if somebody is like, let's say like if there's two guys running up the court and you know that okay they're around the same, I guess athletic ability, you'll know how to throw the ball ahead of the guy so you can give him the advantage over his defender.
yeah,
But that comes with all these little things.
yeah. I know I had to compensate a lot for that. So like I had to like on the defensive end, it was always hard. Offensively, I mean like I had the shot, so that kind of saved me on a lot of things offensively because people had to play so close, or they would run at me, where it would give me that extra advantage because I didn't have that not necessarily athleticism, but the speed and the cardio for it.
Yeah,
So yeah, that I'll talk with him too because like he's really enjoying it, man. Like they said he was the best. They had a drill and it was like a free throw shooting drill, and it was 4v4, and
right.
he had like four of I think they did it to 10. He had four of the 10 shots they hit, so he's
Nice,
doing really well.
nice.
The one thing I actually wanted to know, so like they were doing free throw shots, so they were just lined up behind, they passed the ball, they would shoot, no movement. They added movement to the drill. So it's essentially like you're on the baseline. The player behind you has the ball. You're essentially doing an L route, catching at the opposite elbow of the free throw line, and you're shooting. So Christian was a little bit on the like he didn't know what to do as much. His body kind of while he was running kind of like shifted this way every time he shot. So his shot was off, right? Um, Anything on that perspective of how to kind of get him to because you want to be quick, but you also want to stop on a dime and shoot. You don't want to like shift to one side like he was doing. Any tips on
Oh man, I can't wait to get to this. Man, I used to enjoy. I enjoyed this so
because
much.
like for me like for my shot it didn't matter as much because like I had so much repetition, so like I could shift a little to the left or I could shift a little bit to the right and it won't affect me because when I caught the ball I'm in my my form. For him it would get out of his form a lot, right? Like anytime something would go wrong, he'd be out of his form, and then obviously he'd miss because he needs to be in his form to have a chance to shoot because he's a little shorter, right?
Hmm. Man, I can't wait to like start training again because like those are like the things like how can I like when you enjoy you like working with your with the
Yeah,
players. You're like, yo, how can I make this guy? How can I help him understand how to hit this layup, like the spinning layup, like the when the ball spins.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
how do I
Kyrie Irving,
how can I make him
the
like do the
best.
Derrick Rose up and under, or like maybe we can add this to. My brother was good at it. My brother was pretty solid at that too at one point.
Yeah.
You know, so
Um,
oh yeah, it's gonna be fun. Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun
I'm
because
excited, man, because like even too, like I'd love to get back into ball too. So like I
because
was
the
watching him, I was watching him, and I'm like, oh man,
right.
I just want to be joined in and start playing with these kids too.
Yeah. Because like even like like the training becomes a lot more intense as you get older because like
Oh,
sometimes you're doing like full court training, like you're doing like a full court, okay,
back,
you right,
back,
back and forth, just to because you're working on your cardio, your ball handle, and then your jump shot, your right pull up, your left pull up, your what do you call it, drag step, um, right to left or drag step left to right, hesitation. Oh
side
God,
step.
man, when the hezzies come in, remember like, ooh, jeez,
Man, and like surprisingly, because like when he was younger, we practiced a bit on handles, and like for where other kids his age are at in the group that he was playing with, like he is a good dribbler. And like it was funny because he had one practice where they sent him to the younger kids, and I yelled for him. I'm like, buddy, asked to go on the older side, asked to go on the older side, asked. He didn't want to. He was like, I'm going to dominate here. They did nothing but defensive drills. He was so pissed. I said to him after, I'm like, you should have asked. You know your skill level is more on that side. It'll push you more, right? This practice came out. They sent him on one side. He said he raised his hand. Hey, can I go on the other side? They said sure, and he did well. He did great actually. They
nice,
gave him a little headband for like player of the day or whatever.
nice.
So he's doing it. He's just like getting like a little bit more focused on it, which is good because I used to do drills with him back in the day, and he as soon as you say drills or oh, he's all sad, you know. But yeah,
Once you see the results of the drills, though, he's gonna want to do more drills because
I know. And and sometimes he doesn't add those two things together. Because one summer we were outside a lot practicing his jump shot, and he was miserable. Let's just play one on one, blah blah blah. Play one on one, but you can't block me. You can't play defense. And then he'll play against someone his age. He's like, wow, like my shot's really good. I'm like, yeah, we practiced it. No, I'm just naturally good. Well, yes and no. Like you have to put work into anything. Anybody that's naturally gifted, you still got to put work into it. And like he has the capability of putting in work and being very, very good.
and
You know,
you see right there, that is the number one challenge to is to keep them motivated. That is such a challenge
it is. It was a
because
lot of ice cream bribes back then, man.
man,
Practice hard and we'll get some ice cream after.
because my younger brother we would run like 2 or 3 or 4 5K runs. He was at age 13 doing age 12 13 doing this. So like, but like I know I pushed him hard. I wanted him to do well. I think I was like living vicariously through him. Like this is what I wanted to be. And
That's what I worry about. Like I try not to.
yeah,
I try not to be hard on him, but like
I know what you mean.
it's tough because you're like he can do better, and you just want him to do the best he can be, the best he can be, and you say great on the good stuff, but like you want to not point what he did wrong, but point out so like he could correct himself, so he could be even like he could feel even better about his game. Like I remember, man, you've gone to a gym and you've struggled for a night, and you feel like I remember when I was younger, if my shot wasn't falling. Like, what am I really on the court if I can't hit my jump shot? Like,
Right.
it gets in your head a lot. Then you get down on yourself, where you're just like, man, if I teach him the right way of taking care of his body, having like my handle. By the time you and I met in college was when my handle got good. Throughout high school, my handle wasn't great.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. And when I was in high school, my grade 12 year, they threw me to play point guard. I'm like, hey, I'm just a shooter. Like I'm a specialist. I'm a guy, the players bring the ball up and I shoot the ball. But I had to, essentially be put in a position where they put me at center once, Mike. They put me at center once. I'm short. Okay, yeah, sure, I have the weight. I could push people out of the way, but I don't want to do that. I'm a shooter. I want to be at the 3-point line. No. You got to. You was the worst. So it was so limited our offense, where they'd be like, okay, the point guard stands at the top, the 2 guard stands on the left, the 3 guards, the forward stands on the right, and the 2 bigs stand in the middle. I had to stand in the paint on offense.
Yeah.
You know how many times I would start creeping to the 3-point line? I was like, what am I supposed to do there? I turn around, there's 6'5" guys on me. You're just like, that's another thing. You have to get in the best position to coach, because I don't know about your high school coaches, but the school I was at, they didn't care about basketball. They were more set on volleyball.
Well,
I told you.
can I say something?
No, go
Yeah,
ahead.
and I think this is I see a lot of issues here, and this is a good question, right? Here's a good question for you, because I'm at LA Fitness the other day, right? And I saw this young child, young I don't know how old it is, like maybe 10 years old, but he had a jump shot. He looked very seasoned, he looked very
Yeah.
advanced, right? And he's there training or putting up some shots, but for me, I see me and him, and I think this is where I come from, the marketplace, okay? With the young kids that want to really hoop in Mississauga, GTA, or wherever, right?
Woodbridge. Don't forget Woodbridge.
Woodbridge. Oh yeah, exactly. Because
It's not a lot here, man. Honestly, my wife and I have to go to Brampton for a lot of this stuff.
Because you took it seriously, but no, but right.
I did.
So for the ones that take it seriously, a question for you: is going to LA Fitness enough? I don't think so, because when you go there,
when I was younger, I went to a community center. So
but is that enough? Okay, because are you getting the training you need? No.
Oh. So here was the thing. So most of what I learned, I taught myself. I didn't have someone, my parents didn't play basketball. They didn't know anything about basketball. Either I would pick it up from other players I would ask them, hey, what do you do? Okay, so I got cut in grade 9, right? And I was a solid player. I was the best player in grade 9. Every year, in my year, I was the best player on my team, no matter what anyone says, right? And I got cut because obviously I'm a bigger guy. Bullshit excuses. Oh, we're scared this, we're scared that. It's unfortunate, but whatever. So I made it a point to, when grade 10 came around, I was going to be even better. And that's when I developed my jump shot. And when I used to play, I went to a community center down the road, and, there's one adult that just sits on the bench and reads a book, is on their phone the whole time. So it's just the kids playing. Right. So after, them not knowing me and getting used to, and then becoming not friends, but kind of acquaintances in the basketball relationship side. Right. That's when I started working on it, because you want to play against guys that are better than you. And yeah, it's going to feel like crap, because every day you're going to lose, and every day you're going to have to go back to the drawing board and learn something new and train and get in better shape. And yeah, that's how I learned, man. I remember the problem was at my school was they didn't care about basketball, just straight up. My high school did not care about basketball. The same kids that I would play with at the community center, they would have their tryouts in September for their team. The season would start November, 10th or something. Our tryouts for my high school was November 1st. So what practices did we have as a team? None, essentially. We would have practices, and it would be okay, we're going to practice our layup lines. We're going to practice our 3-2 zone. Oh, we're going to switch up our defense. We're going to play 2-3 zone. We never played man-to-man. We never had a pick-and-roll offense. We never had good offensive plays, essentially. So it was all, yeah, it's kind of hard to describe, without getting upset. But, it was other schools were practicing plays, motion or, whatever intensive plays, right man comes up, left man comes up, double pick
Right.
and roll, like things like that. None of that was there. So it was all, okay, let's figure it out. There's guys on my team practicing their jump shot because they couldn't shoot. They didn't know how to shoot. So I'd go in before my practice and I'd practice, hit my free throws, hit my shots, hit my mid-range 3-point shots, practice my right-handed layup, practice my right-handed dribbles. So I just did it on my own. And then you could tell when other people are more experienced. Like when I met you, again, when we met, you didn't know I played ball, I didn't know you played ball. And then we finally met on the court, and I'm like, oh, man, this guy's really seasoned,
Right.
right? At that point, I was like, man, he got a lot of training. Like he did a lot. Not just his jump shot is good, everything around him was good, right?
Right.
Like you were pretty athletic, you moved really quick without the ball, good defender, like you were long and lengthy, offensively and defensively. So like I think it matters on who train. Like you're gonna need someone to kind of get extra training because I'm sure if I had a trainer in my age, man, they'd probably make you run 10K. I'd be dead by the end of those practices. I,
You would have been
you know,
running.
so like like I get it. Like
You would have been solid too, because if you had like lean and
exactly, and Mike, I told you that when I got the invitation to go to the States for a scholarship opportunity, where I took it seriously, I had 3 months, man. I dropped weight, I built muscle. Like obviously, there's only so much you can do in 3 months, but I was playing 6 hours a day. I messed up my ankle really bad, and I kept playing, which long term messed up my ankle. But like I took it so seriously, where I would have loved to be in it. Like, when like you watch those movies where you're like, man, the parents are just grilling the kids on like what they did wrong on each play. Part of me was like, man, I kind of wish I had that guy to like critique me, like you did this wrong. You have to do better. Why didn't you see the guy in the corner? Why'd you take this shot? This was a bad shot. Defensively, hey, you got to pick up your man. Like, you got to show some show some effort. Like I'm trying not to swear, but like you got to show, put some effort into your defense. Like I know you're tired. Hell, that's why we run. You got to run more. You got to do this more. And like part of me wants to, again, like you were saying, like I'm happy that my parents supported me because they did. They took me anywhere I wanted to go, but they were just like, I'm happy you just playing. Where I wanted that person behind you saying, no, throwing f bombs from the sideline, saying you got to be better, you got to be better, you got to be better. So like part of me is like, man, I want to critique Christian so he can be the best, absolute best player. When it's also like, okay, he's also 9. He also wants to have fun and enjoy himself and feel like he's Steph Curry throwing 3-point shots behind his back and things like that. So it's like trying to manage both sides. You know what I mean?
because I want to provide a place for players, because like that. Well, to me, because me and you, what you just said, it was my story too, because that's what I started doing. I remember I went to the gym when I was like 20, 21. Um, I was doing 2 hours basketball, 2 hours plyometric, and 2 hours weights, like Monday to Friday. I was just
Yeah,
in
I was the
there.
guy that was doing 6 hours of just basketball. There was
Yeah.
nothing else. No weight,
but
no
but you see
training.
the effects of
Oh,
it,
for sure.
right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Because it's not just that, right? Like I had the skills. Like it was just you get held back to a certain point, right? Like when I went for that scholarship thing, as soon as I got there, I'm like, wow, I'm in the best shape I could be at this moment for me. And I would see guys that were like, oh yeah, I just showed up yesterday, like whatever. I'm not really training, and they were just like super athletic. And you're like, man, like there's no way I could get to that point. Like when I went to those tournaments, dude, I shot like 66% from three,
mhm,
but I didn't take a lot of shots because there was other players on my team that were like far better.
right,
Like you know how many opportunities I had a wide open shot and I threw an alley oop to a big guy.
right,
Those were freaking awesome. You know, you just you see you're like, oh okay, you're limited, right? Even though I'm short, but it's also I'm not fast, not quick. So it's like I just want to do that to like fix the things that I made mistakes on when I was a kid, when I was trying to be the best basketball player I could be. So it's
yeah.
trying to get to that point.
But yeah, I just want to provide a good support, um, you know, to those children that want that training, right? So and I see a need for it here in Canada, in the GTA, and even the outskirts of the GTA. I see a need for it here. So That's
You even support your brother too, like what you did with your brother, because that's essentially what you're going to be doing, right?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
So like, how long did you train him?
How long did I train him?
Like obviously you're his brother, so you're training him off and on every time you see him in that. But when you were like, how what was like the gap from like when you started training him until you started seeing improvements and things like that, and like how long did you train him? Was it a year, 2 years, how long?
What was grade four is what, 9 years old?
Yeah, grade nine.
Yeah,
Sorry, grade four was 9 years old.
yeah. So around 9 or 10. Yeah, just from 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, about 4 or 5 years straight. Just trained him.
That's really good. That's awesome.
And afterward,
Yes,
he just started to like kind of maintain himself.
that's good. Yeah, because like that's the whole point. You want to teach them how to train themselves. Where like we essentially did the same, but you kind of were able to focus on things that you needed to focus on more,
Hmm.
right? Like for me, it was just like me being in a gym. I could play basketball for 6 hours, but if you put me in a weight room, 20 minutes, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of bored with this. So it's like you got to keep their focus too. How did you keep them focused when you were doing all those runs and you were doing all the weight training with him? Like obviously 9 years old, 10 years old, it's limited weight training, specific weight training for like balancing and things like that. But like what did you what were like tactics that you did to kind of keep him motivated or
Um,
keep him like
the
wanting
best,
to run 10K or 5K?
I guess, the best correction, the best form of, um, I guess the best form of correction is always reward based. Like kind of always like it's only an hour and 30 minutes. After that, you go play whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
kind of keeping it small. Don't make it seem big. You know what I'm saying? It's like, for example, like if I was to say, like when I'm doing a bench press, right? Let's say I'm doing 10 reps. Okay, I don't count 1, 2. I count 9, 8, 7. So it's like I'm going. So like in my mind, I'm going down. Same amount of reps, just I'm going down. So it's like,
Yeah, keep that positive mentality that
yeah,
that's good. That's good.
because the
Yeah.
mind can make something seem bigger than it actually is, but it really isn't,
Yeah.
right?
So how many kids do you think you could train at once?
I would rather just do like 4 or 5. You know, we'll see how it goes.
So like how would your like depending on permits and all that, but what would be your ideal like okay, 5 kids at a time and then you would have one day that would be like all the kids could come and kind of play. Would that be something that would be an option where you could say, okay, this is just like a scrimmage practice, right? So for you guys to come to the scrimmage practice, you have to do 1 or 2 days of training with me when it's the 5 kids, and then you just lock them in for
Yeah,
however many weeks.
Like every Friday, just do a scrimmage 5v5.
Yeah,
See where they're at in the skill. It's not a bad,
yeah, yeah,
not a
yeah.
bad
Because I know
idea.
the kids. The one thing I noticed, my son loves the scrimmage. Loves like they just wait for it. So if they don't, they're like, oh, no scrimmage. But yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I can't wait for that. Like just being involved in basketball again,
Me
even
too.
doing this, it's awesome, man.
Trust me.
It kind of makes you feel like some hey, life gets in the way. There's things happen in life where you got to focus on other things, but you got to always try to look at your passion and look what you really enjoy doing, and just enjoy doing it for
Yes,
sure.
sir.
That's what I want to do, man. Me and you got to play more basketball.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Oh
gonna get
yeah.
back into it. With my back issue, try to fix that, resolve that as quickly as I can, and then hopefully we could start playing.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
man.
I guess yeah, about an hour now. Um, anything else? Or
Did you want to do your last part? I know we were talking about what did we do so far? Well, we did the sports,
yeah,
we did the business, which was also kind of about sports.
yeah.
You got to do the life now, which we did. It's kind of mixed in all
Well, it's
together. That's
mixed.
that's the one good thing about our podcast. It's kind of everything's mixed in
Yeah, it's mixed
together.
in. Yeah.
Because we used to talk back in the day. Ball was life. We're trying to get like that. You're
Well,
certainly doing it, opening up your business.
yeah, and I want to say this too because with Christian, like I don't want to just with my business. Yes, it is basketball, right? But I'm not. It's not the lessons there are going to be life lessons along with basketball. Like, for example, right? Like, if he really wants to take, especially like for us, like if these children want to take basketball seriously, right? They need to understand how to build their profile. And I know we spoke about this already, but like, why do these children in the U.S. why are they noticed, right? They've gone along with the trend, right? YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, right? Build
Yeah.
yourself a profile. It's like your resume, right?
Yes.
Like we saw each other. We didn't know we played basketball, but it would be nice. Yo, check out my Instagram. So you have to get with the time. So they're going to be taught these things because they're going to grow up eventually. They're going to right, and maybe this will also propel them. Let's say they don't want to play basketball. They can say, well, Coach Mike taught me how to build my profile on Instagram, YouTube, and whatever, how to write a description, how to write a biography. Whoa, it's the same thing for a resume or a cover letter.
Not even that, man. If, like, I know for me, I knew, hey, if I get a scholarship, it's not going to be, like, it's not going to be Duke University and I'm going straight to the NBA after a couple of years. Being good at a specific sport can get you a scholarship into a really good college or university, which will open up a lot of ventures for your life, for the rest of your life. Even if you're not pursuing an NBA career or even like a Europe, like even if basketball isn't like, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life, but I love it. I want to open up my own business.
Yeah.
You could get a scholarship and then go to a good university on a free ride and learn about how to open your own business. Yeah. Like sports opens up a lot of avenues if you do it right. If that's the only thing you're focused on and you're not focused on your schooling and not focused on your grades, then yeah, it'll fall through the cracks. And then you're only relying on basketball to make the NBA, to make money for your family or Europe or wherever. It's supposed to open up more avenues. Like we were talking about with basketball. When you're playing basketball, you want to look at options when you have the ball, when you don't have the ball. In life, you want to have options open.
There you go. You're preaching now, brother. You're preaching now.
Yeah, right? Like real estate for me wasn't an option 3 years ago, and it opened up to me because I have family members that are investors. Yeah. That opened up the opportunity to be an investor myself, realizing, oh man, like maybe the job I'm in isn't what I want to do the next 30 years. It's not bringing me as much joy as it should be. And that's when it took me a year to look for something, which turns out it was being a mortgage agent and helping other people get into their homes and things like that, where, okay, that brings me joy, but what about basketball? What about hanging out with friends on a podcast, talking about life, talking about sports, talking about business? Where that's another thing where we've been doing this. Okay, we've been recording for an hour, but we were on almost 2 hours, and it's been a good time, man. Like it kind of refuels you. Yeah. Like it's not just about sports. You could put a lot of your drills that you're going to be doing into life, and that's a big thing. Because even like playing sports, being unselfish, where if you're a selfish guy as a basketball player, not a lot of people are going to want to play with you. But not on that. In real life, if you're a selfish person,
there you go.
Nobody's going to want to work with you. Nobody's going to want to hop on a podcast and talk for an hour. Nobody's going to want to be your teammate on a work project where, you need other people to complete your job. Nobody's going to want to help you when you're in a spot where you might need assistance from another person. It kind of puts everything into play.
Yeah, man, and that's and right here, like how we just summed it up right there. That's the goal of our podcast, is to like try to improve or help people in any way, maybe to see things to a different perspective. Could be through sports or through life or through business, whichever way. But maybe to help them even push them forward toward a career they never thought about, or wow, like. I guess, I mean, you know what I mean, right? So
yeah, it's also like, okay, it's a podcast about views, about people seeing us. For us, it's not really like that. It's if Michael's helping me see another perspective, for my son, for my life, for my business, and vice versa. If that is what comes out of this podcast, then that's perfect for us. just helping people.
Yeah.
You know, if it's me and him and myself that are getting the help, or someone else that finds this, and even one person says, "Hey, I learned something," then we're happy with that.
Yeah.
100%. Because
Yeah.
that's all. That's what matters. You know.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, so with that being said, I think we're gonna sign off. If you enjoy the content, like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment, and and
Questions. If you have other topics you want to bring up,
yeah, if any, yeah,
let's.
any topics you want to suggest, yeah, put in the comment section below. All right, and we're signing off. All right, peace out.
Peace. SBL.
SBL.